want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
We are the Madmen of Masculinity.
Your home for healthy masculinity. We're just real men having real conversations for you. Good day, Madmen Mafia. Surprise, surprise, surprise. We just coming in off the cuff right here. I am Jason B. Kendrick. We are the Madmen of Masculinity. And you are tuning in to see this gentleman over here, Mr. Cory Williams, who I just met, actually. So, friends of friends, people reaching out. So, we can get a little bit into that. But Cory had a story where he needed to get on a podcast. And there was something about him having to eat beets and feta cheese. And I hate beets and feta cheese. So I had to save a brother and help a brother out. But he's also an entrepreneur. He's escaped the 9-to-5 rat race, and he likes to help others do the same. So we're going to have him tell his story and talk a lot about that. So Mr. Cory Williams, nice to meet you and welcome to the show.
It's an absolute pleasure, my friend. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. I mean, we run in the same circles. We know some of the same people. So luckily we got connected. And, I don't know about you. I mean, I know some people love feta and or goat cheese and beets, but I'm not one of them. I couldn't let a brother go down that road of like missing his target, missing his goal, and having to eat goat cheese and beets all week. Ugh.
Oh man, I am grateful for you, my friend, because when you make a commitment and there are repercussions, like you don't want to run into those. So I'm grateful and looking forward to having a productive conversation with you today. And the cherry on the top is no beets and goat cheese. So all good.
Well, hopefully next week, you don't have the same goal, so you don't have the same problem. But no, I love it. I love, we've done a lot of the same work, side seminars and all that stuff. And so I know when you get into some of those programs there, if you're doing a goal setting course, if you're doing like the PLD course, they hold your feet to the fire. Like you said, you wanted to do this. So what's the repercussions if you don't? And they make sure you do it, kind of give you that crackhead mentality. They don't rest on their laurels. If they're out of money or out of crack, they're gonna find it.
You're darn right, my friend, and it is true. And one of my mentors is like cut from that same cloth. Like you make a commitment, and he's gonna hold you to it. And so I know there's no escaping that. So it was like a last minute cancellation. Booked a couple weeks out, and he's like, "Hey, I'm out of town and I can't make it happen." And I'm like, well, I'm not going to let that happen to me. Right. And thankfully there's people like you out there that come to the rescue for the big fella. So, and I'm excited because, this is powerful stuff. We're talking about personal development, the work that we do and the work that we've done. And here you are, an accomplished author, speaker, par golfer. I just
well, don't go that far. Don't go that far.
A snowbird, like riding, the fresh pow pow and all those things. Like we get to do these amazing things in our life because we've like set ourselves on that path. And there's a lot of people out there that don't believe that they can do it. Just like last night when we put out all the feelers to get on a podcast today, it's like everything that you want is already right around you. You just have to open your eyes and be willing to put yourself out there and make those contacts and leverage your relationships to get what you want. It's all right there for the taking. And so, I live to inspire, brother. I want to inspire people to get what they want.
I'm on the same page. I love that. Man. Yeah, I love it. And one of the things that especially I've adopted is recently is, if you want to do the work and you're not the one on stage, you're not the one doing it right now, you support and help those people doing it, because the best ways, like Wallace Waddles says, or Zig Ziglar, I guess, best way to get what you want is help others get what they want. And so a lot of times people get so stuck in there, I got to get my goals, I got to do this stuff, I don't have time for other people. But it's the relationships, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And so when we get into this space, sometimes you got to have the courage to reach out like you did, and then reach out to your network and say, who can help me get what I need and get a podcast or, get this thing or this introduction I need. But then once that comes and you have the opportunity to help somebody out, do it, because the more we can help others out, the more others will help us out. It becomes this reciprocal giving, abundant sort of, flow. And so that's why, if I have the opportunity and I definitely want to, because I know that pays dividends no matter, where they come from. And that's the other thing too. A lot of times when we do those things, you want to do it from an open heart and open space, because sometimes people do it from I'm going to get something out of it. But usually whatever you get back when the universe brings it back around, it doesn't come from the same source. So like, I don't expect anything to come from you, but because of this and somebody sees this and whatnot, then it'll end up coming back around. And so it's a matter of living in abundance. And by living in abundance, some ways, like tithing, you don't just tithe your money to the church. You don't just tithe your money to your coaches or whoever's helping you. You tithe your energy, you tithe your time. Amen. Give that out so that you can get that, reciprocal return in the future.
Yeah. Amen, brother. And if you just give, and like you said, without expectation, boy, the world, God, the universe, you call it what you want, but my friend, it has a wonderful way of coming back around. So I think you hit the nail on the head. And I'm glad you mentioned Zig Ziglar, because that guy is just full of wisdom. And boy, that's a guiding principle in my life, the way I coach, the way I train, the way I mentor. It is all about helping people get what they want. And so I'm glad you mentioned that. And we're just firing on all cylinders here, my friend.
Oh yeah. I mean, and it's that mindset that we need to have. And of course, if you're in sales and you don't know Zig Ziglar, then you're missing out some of the greatest wisdom in the world. But before we get too far off track, I really want to get into your background, your history, so that the Madmen Mafia can get to know, Cory for a little bit. And it's like, who is this Cory guy and what's he about? And, I know I read a little bit about you, that you escaped the 9-to-5, you got into entrepreneurship and real estate and whatnot. But tell your story, because I think, from what I read, there's some interesting tidbits in there. I think people would get out something, heartfelt and something they could take away from it.
Thank you. Thank you. I have really thought about this a lot, and in primarily the art of storytelling. And I believe one of the greatest books ever written on marketing was by Donald Miller, Build Your Story Brand. And it's a pretty simple premise. It's what every movie that's ever been written and every story that's ever worth telling or hearing follows. A very simple process. There's a character that has a problem. They meet a guide, and the guide gives them a plan and then calls them to take action on that plan. And what do you know? They avoid failure and become the hero and end in success. And, one of the things that I think is so rampant in this world, and if I may say, in the real estate industry especially, is this ego, this I'm the hero mentality. And this aligns with exactly what we were just talking about. It's all about being the guide and making everybody else the hero of their own story. I don't have to look very far to find one of the greatest movies of all time. I don't know if you've ever heard of it or not, The Karate Kid.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Brilliant. It's the same process, my friend. And so, I found myself just like Daniel LaRusso, stuck in a dead-end job. The difference was he was getting beat up, and it was keeping him from, getting his girl, man. And so it was keeping me from, realizing the potential that I had. I'm from a small town in Indiana. Grew up, went to school there, came out here. That was my first bold move, moving, 1,500 miles away with whatever fit in my car and leaving the rest behind. But then that I think it was a Tuesday, and they're in a 9-to-5. My boss pops off at me, and I walk in my office, call my wife, and I'm like, I'm quitting today. Well, I'd been doing some nights and weekends getting my real estate license. And so, but I had a problem. I had a problem that, you know, I, now what? I'm going to walk away from a job. I've got a great paying job. I'm a sales manager. Kind of like the keys to the kingdom are being dangled. And it's like, I got to get out of here. Right. Well, I kind of already identified my Mr. Miyagi. Okay. I already saw a guy in the real estate industry that had transitioned from construction. And that's what I needed. I needed to be able to take what I knew and what I learned at a decade in construction industry and built those relationships. And as you mentioned earlier, made those contributions. I filled the bank accounts up with a lot of people. And so, I found the difference maker. That guide helped me build a plan, just like Mr. Miyagi did with Danielson.
Mm-hmm.
It was like he had walked the path. He knew the frustrations, and do you remember the part in the movie where the Karate Kid was learning karate out of a book?
Yeah, the very first, when he's like, I'm gonna get these guys. I'm gonna learn how to defend myself, and you can't learn it out of a book.
He's learning out of a book. And Mr. Miyagi's like, hey, what happened to your face? And he's like, I fell off my bike. And he's like, why hand not hurt? Right?
Yeah.
So he's already like dwindling in. So he's got that wisdom, that guide that has the wisdom and knows that they can see right through you. So then you give them a plan. That was for me. Like, there's so many people out there in the real estate industry, and this goes across any industry, that just say, go out there and be busy. Just go out there and do this and do that. And let's call, let's door knock and it's like, you got to have a plan that's proven and that matches someone's skill sets. And for me, I had built relationships. I wasn't ready to go door knock and buy leads from Zillow and meet perfect strangers. I wanted to build a business that was sustainable and that could last a lifetime. And so, I worked through that plan. I worked, through that unorthodox, maybe wax on, wax off, right? Like, I promise to teach you karate. You promise learn. No question.
What it reminds me of is that's basically the hero's journey, which I think every person needs to either be aware of or read about. Read A Hero, 1,000 Faces, or learn about the hero's journey. But even when you get into things like Karate Kid, Star Wars, most of these movies that we love, it's the hero's journey in some form or fashion. The protagonist is called to action, and usually he rebukes it or refuses, like, oh, I can't do that, and this and that, and then he gets that mentor who comes in and says, no, you can do this, but I can't do this. Alec Guinness came in as Obi-Wan talking about Luke, hey, I'm gonna take you over here and be a Jedi. I can't be a Jedi. I've got work to do or whatever. But you go through that process of the hero's journey. And I think even in your case and most of our cases, we get so stuck in I've got the keys to the kingdom. I've got this good job. My bills are paid. I have all the things that I need. And so that's kind of the golden carrot, the promise that was it the dangling carrot on the end of the stick that you're never going to actually get, but they promise you this is what you need. You just, like in the good old days of the baby boomers and stuff, where it's like, oh, just work this job for 30 years and then you'll be fine. You'll be set. All you gotta do is just keep going for 30 years. Like, well, that sounds awful. That doesn't sound like it's going to feed my soul or fill my heart. That's not how I want to do it. And so each of us has to go on our own hero's journey. And there are plenty of mentors out there who, like you said, they can see right through you because they've been you. They've been where you're at. They know where you're going, and they know how to help you avoid the pitfalls and traps of that journey. and give you a little guidance. I mean, granted, you're still going to find your own holes on your own way, but yeah, that hero's journey is something that we all need to go through. And it sounds like you've had your own experience with that. And so in your own experience, how are you, now sharing that back to others that you can help along the way?
Yeah, that's a great question. And, I really live to inspire, my friend. One of the things that's flawed about Zig Ziglar's statement is that, you have to do all the work to help people get what they want first, right? But that's a path to burnout. That's a path to, failure. What you really need to do, because Mr. Miyagi didn't fight in the tournament for Daniel, he signed him up for the tournament, and then he empowered him, he inspired them. So that's what I'm here to do, my friend. Is I live to inspire, to not do the work, but really be that guide that puts you through the process, the mental process, because we know you got to go out and do the kicks and wax the cars and paint the fence and all the things, right? However, it's all mental. It's all in the head and the heart, right? And so that's really where I'm at. I was one mentor away from accomplishing one of the biggest dreams I had in my life. And I find that there's a lot of people out there that are one really great mentor away from being able to put themselves in a great position to get what they want. And I hope that I'm that bridge for some people, whether it's in the real estate industry, other industries. I want to be that person, that inspiration that helps them get what they want. And for me, man, that's what life's all about. And as I step into this season, I've taken clients through that journey, in the real estate field. And now I'm taking real estate agents, and I coach people in drywall companies and marketing companies, and whoever God kind of throws my way, I'm willing to step up to the plate and do my best to inspire, my friend. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of context in terms of what's most important to me.
Well, yeah, I like that you brought up, kind of the conflict with the Zig Ziglar quote, and the fact that when you do find a mentor, when you do find the guide, he's not doing the work for you. He's guiding you. They're giving you. They're basically, they know it can be done because they've done it, and so they guide you. But you're still doing the work. And when you're helping somebody else get what they want, your help is being supportive and maybe pointing out their blind spots or pointing out things they don't see, and giving them the opportunity and the support to do what they need to do, because the best coaches basically just hold you accountable. I mean, the fact that you got on this show and we're doing this podcast is because your coach held you accountable to your goal and what you said you want to do, and gave you repercussions that you didn't want and I didn't want for you, because nobody likes, well, I don't like beets and feta cheese, so I know if you didn't like it, then we're on the same page. But that's the whole process of the hero's journey, is having that mentor who knows you have it in you and can see it. And that's what most of us are missing, I think, when it comes to inspiration, when it comes to having a mentor or a coach. They can see what we are having a hard time seeing because we're so close. We have the blinders on. We can't see all of ourselves. You need somebody to hold up that mirror, give you a different vantage point of who you really are, and show you your blind spots and show you things you can't see, because you only see so much. You only see this much of yourself. And you can look in the mirror and you can turn around, but it's really hard to see once you turn around your reflection. You need somebody to help you with that. And that's what mentors do. That's what inspiration is about. And I love the fact that that's what you're doing, because that is, I think, especially nowadays, something we need more of, is people to show the way, to give support, and to inspire so many folks. And I mean, you even kind of alluded to it, even in the real estate industry with the ego. They get so caught up in the me, my, and I got to get, that they forget about teamwork. They forget about collaboration. They forget about the flow of energy when it comes to, it's right there in the saying, it's not what you know, it's who you know. But then they forget about the collaboration and getting the networking and helping others and getting the energy flowing to be successful in that way.
100%, man. And I'm glad you talked about like energy flow too, right? And by the way, I'm curious to see how many people in this audience knew that he was learning karate out of a book first. Okay. I had to go back and watch it. But it's like in this day and age of YouTube, right? It's the number 2 search engine in the world, and Google. We have every bit of information, Chat GPT at our fingertips, right? And yet that basic human connection is really that exchange of energy and flow and that one-on-one and listening and looking people in the eye and truly caring about them and getting face to face and belly to belly is so powerful. Just like Daniel-san can't learn karate out of a magazine, you can't learn how to be a successful entrepreneur watching YouTube videos. You really need that engagement. And so the farther and farther humans get away from each other and separated from each other, the more call I get to be back to the basics, and really live that exchange of energy and look people in the eye. It's like share some feelings, man. Cry together. I don't know. I cried a couple times in meetings this week. Like, it's just like when you hear people's story, it's so touching, and it just brings out this level of connection that you're never going to get trying to learn something without that true human connection. So thanks for bringing that up, man. It's really important. And the farther we get away from it, the more I crave that authentic connection.
Yeah, it's something we, here on the Madmen of Masculinity and with the Madmen Mafia, we talk a lot about is that you need to have that community, you need to have that group. I mean, so many men especially are living lives of quiet desperation because we get so isolated. First we had our group of friends in school, and then maybe we got in the military and had that group of friends. But then once we get out in the business world, it's just kind of work friends. And if we're in a relationship, then a lot of times if we don't actively chase or actively look for other connections and other families or people to connect with and to create community with, then it's just me and my partner. Or if you're single, then it's just you and your dog or your cat, or maybe it's just you. And it becomes harder and harder, and you have to be more and more conscious. And so I love that there's a movement now, especially how things have gone, to get more men together to help men because of the crisis that we've been in. But, the feminist movement was needed. And then, like most things we do as humans, it went off the rails. And now we have more masculine women and more feminized men. And we need men to come together so they can gain that natural masculinity. They can gain that mentorship, that leadership, that brotherhood, because most of us think we're the only one dealing with what we're dealing with until we can get into community and realize, oh no, all men deal with this and all men need these connections and things. And so I love that, you brought that up, because it is something that I think almost out of necessity is going to come back full force here soon, because we have to get back to subsistence. We have to get back to natural, ways of being, and more community, more connection, and more energy exchange, because the virtual world is just, it doesn't give it to us. It may be entertaining, we may get dopamine spikes and whatnot, but it doesn't give us the connection and the energy and the love and respect and the things that we actually need to thrive as men in the world today.
100%, man. I mean, I think we're telling ourselves a lie that consumption is what we need. Oh, I want to watch another YouTube video on this, or, learn this or watch that reel, or we get sucked into social media, which is the whole point of social media. That is how it was designed to do, is to suck us in. And what we really need is more time to create, man. Like you were talking about writing your third book. Like you got to set time aside to create a masterpiece like that. And so I've got this calling to create, and to stop consuming, and really just to step into that authentic space of creativity. And we've been told a lot of lies, my friend, and you just
Hmm.
talked about how those have manifested in our society, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. And Yeah, we just, I agree 100%. Like that call back to masculinity, and the polarity to femininity. That's a good thing, my friend. That's why God made man and woman on this earth. So it's definitely something that I'm feeling called, detracted from consumption, and called to creation, my friend.
Yeah, it's something that I mean, even when you get into like the hero's journey or just kind of the phases of life and the phases of manhood, there comes a time where you become the mentor, whether you want it or not. And it's something that I think we all need as men to share our knowledge, to share our experience. And when we don't give ourselves those opportunities in group and in community, we don't go to men's group, we don't go to church, we don't go wherever to the family and just be able to share our wisdom. We miss something. We don't get that opportunity to be the mentor. We don't get that opportunity to share. And this is to gain that feeling of contribution, like you're talking about, and being creative and doing all those things. A lot of times, some of the best creativity that you can gain or give to someone else is just by sharing your story and letting them know that I've had this experience that you're having, and this is what I did, or this is what I went through, or this is how I dealt with it. And a lot of times when we don't have that community, we miss out on that. And I know you mentioned the books, like my first two books, I did it all by myself. I just figured it out as I went. And then, of course, figured out at the end that I really could have used a lot of help. And now it's like, okay, I know that. And I can save somebody else a lot of time through my experience of, well, don't do it like I did. Do it like this. And here's how you can make it simple and easy from what I've learned. And that's the whole point of mentorship and stuff. They say you can go fast alone, but if you want to go far, go together. So take what you've learned and share that, and then find somebody who's older, maybe wiser, or just has more experience in what you want. Like the best thing you can do if you have a goal is find somebody who's achieved that goal or something along the lines of that goal, very close to it, that can help you along or give you advice. There's no reason for you have to like white knuckle it. I know as guys we go, I got to do it myself, got to pull myself up my bootstraps, I got to be a man and suck it up. Well, you don't have to do it alone though. We as men grow together as men, shoulder to shoulder. So finding a couple group of men, couple guys to take over the world with, and you can do it. Just make sure you have the right guys on the same mindset with the same goals, going in the same direction, and you guys can take over the world. So any final words for the folks there, Cory, for your inspiration, for your creativity, for what you want to give into the world today?
Man, you just touched on this, but the only constant in success is failure. And like you said, you find that guide, and it's like, hey, we're going to just fail softly. We're going to just fail forward.
I like that.
And you just learn from it. And so having that, that guide along the way, that Mr. Miyagi that's like, all right, I'm going to pick you back up, and give it one of these, right? We're going to get you back up and running. So, I think society has really, put a bad name on failure, and it's not a bad thing. It's actually, as long as you use it properly as a learning lesson, it is the key component to success. So, that's all I got, brother. If people want to find me on Instagram, Cory the Guide, they want to DM me, guide me. Let's have a conversation and see if there's an opportunity moving forward. So that's all I got, man. I'm really grateful for folks like you that step up to the plate, and I look forward to what the future holds, my friend. And shout out to the community, and looking forward to whatever is in front of us, my friend.
I love it. Yeah. Thank you so much for reaching out and for giving us this opportunity. And yeah, guys, I just had this conversation yesterday on the golf course. Fail forward. Make sure you get some guys together so you can fail together, because failure is how we learn. So don't be afraid of failure. Make sure you embrace failure. And if you're teaching your sons, ask them what they, failed at today. Make it a challenge, make it a goal, make it a game, because failure is how we learn. So until next time, I am Jason B. Kendrick. We are the Madmen of Masculinity, and we are out.